Yo, welcome back to another Borderlands 4 build video. This one's going to be focusing on Amon, and we're kind of making a video based around the Hellwalker, and it's going to be kind of like a Doomslayer build. Basically, it feels like I'm playing Doom, and it's super fun. It's got really good mobbing capabilities, and its bossing capabilities are there as long as you know what you're using for it. It's what I've been running for the past 100 hours playing the game recently. Honestly, yeah, the most fun I've had in Borderlands 4 so far, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's crack on. So we're going to start off with our weapons, and then our gear, and then we're going to move on to our skill tree, and then specialization to finish it all off. So obviously, we're starting with the Hellwalker. Then the Hellwalker is the main part of this build. It's going to be the bread and butter. It's going to be everything we use, pretty much. We do have a couple other options, like say we have the Slugger as well. We also have the Rainbow Vomit. Those are just to match elements, and when we have Elemental Eater on enemies, we can use the Slugger, which should actually break through that pretty quickly because we are also using the Crit Knife. So let's get straight into those. The Hellwalker don't actually roll with anything, like different parts. It is basically near the same every single time. So the only difference is I think you can get better accuracy or, for example, maybe reload speed, but everything else should be around the same. DPS you can get a little bit higher or a little bit lower, the one that I have, but usually across the board, pretty much the same thing. Like I said, the other two options are the Rainbow Vomit and the Slugger. I use both, not often, but just in case if something's taking a little too long to go down with the Hellwalker. Most of the time, you won't really have an issue. Sometimes I'll pull the Rainbow Vomit out, and like I said, the Slugger I will use specifically for Elemental Eater, because I don't deal as much elemental damage to certain types. It's Fire Elemental Eater, I'm kind of screwed unless I use the Slugger, or I could use the Vomit as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the weapon side of things. There is one more other option, and this is if you want to focus on boss damage, and that will be a Jacob shotgun with a underbarrel that has either the knife launcher or like the spread launcher or something like that. Unfortunately, I haven't found one. I cannot find one. My bossing capabilities are still there, like I can do the raid boss and stuff like that on UBHM6. Not really too much of a problem. Not the easiest, not the quickest, but it's fine. Once I get a knife launcher Jacob shotgun, then I should be ready and raring to go, and I should be able to pump out a lot more damage, hit those platinum times. So I'm just kind of waiting on that at the moment. So now moving on to our gear, I'm currently using a triple bypass. I absolutely love this rep kit. I don't think any others are going to replace it anytime soon, until obviously we get some different updates and whatnot. But basically what it does, it gives you 3 charges, and then you can get a random roll of something else on it. For example, I have increased to elemental damage on mine. Ideally, what we're looking for, if we're wanting to do more boss damage and go for those one-shots, you will want amp damage. I think you can roll out on the triple bypass. I just don't have one at the moment. The elemental damage is just really nice for mobbing, since we are building around fire damage and some shock damage as well a bit later in the tree. So yeah, that's the rep kit all sorted. Next up is the infamous Crit Knife. So I was against using this, I still kind of am, but if I'm going to make specific builds, like focusing around certain like ideas and themes and different things, I'm going to have to throw it in at some point, just due to the fact that you're going to have to match elements quite frequently in this game. I'm trying to make a Hellwalker fire build with some shock damage. If it comes to the point where I have to match elements, if I just use the Crit Knife, I can avoid most of that damage reduction. So I just use it mainly for badasses, and you'll see that I do use it on boss fights, but mainly for a different reason. It's just nice for the extra bit of damage. I want my life to be easier. The Crit Knife makes life easier. My build's fun. I enjoy it. It works. So yeah, the Crit Knife is in the setup currently at the moment. Next up we have our class mod, which is Unstable Fairness. I absolutely love this class mod. It's really good for, obviously we want to build that fire damage up. So basically what it does is damage from Fellfrost, Hawkcleave, Fulminating Fist and Stormcutter is converted to incendiary damage, and so since we'll be stacking a lot of that, it's really strong. It also gives us an inherent 45% increase to incendiary damage. That will always roll on this class mod. And then I also rolled action skill duration. You can go for something else here if you can try and find something like increased gun damage, or I don't know if you can roll like shotgun damage specifically, but look for one like that. You'll be perfectly fine. It does not need to be action skill duration, but it's still nice to have, and I'm happy to settle with it. We are also looking for here, we are looking for as many points as possible into Dragon's Breath, which I've currently got 3 points into it. We ideally would look for 5, but we would lose points elsewhere for what the class mod gives us. But Dragon's Breath, I'll show you later in the skill tree, is what's going to allow us to get those boss damage hits out there. So the higher that is, the higher your damage is on bosses, and for badasses when you proc your ordnance. And since our ordnance is the crit knife, it's also more damage because we're dealing crit. So next up is our shield, which is the heavyweight. I'm not a major fan of the melee shields in this game. There isn't that many great options. Don't get me wrong, it seems quite strong, and originally this build was kind of built a bit more towards the melee side before I introduced the Hellwalker, but we're still using it and it works quite well. If you want more survivability and you want to go for something else, be my guest. I haven't really come across that many shields that I'm too interested in that are going to benefit this build specifically, so I've stuck with the heavyweight. Basically what it does is when an armor segment breaks, you gain 100% increased melee damage. It's not per segment, it's just when a segment breaks, so it's not going to be 4 segments 400%, but when it fully breaks you get a 50% increase on top of that, so it's 150% in total. It's a nice shield, it's not crazy, but we'll live with it. I would like to note I did get knockback on it, which I am actually very much enjoy. So it's a 30% movement speed for 5 seconds. I'm a big fan of that on armor segment break. I'm going to be breaking the armor segments consistently, so the movement speed is very, very nice. So I would recommend looking for knockback. And for the final piece of gear is the enhancement, which is the Jacob's enhancement. No shocker there, no surprises. So mine is rolled with Piercer, which is guns with Jacob's licensed parts, have a 20% chance to grant a critical hit. I feel like that one is more important than the second one that I've rolled, which is guns with Jacob's licensed parts increase the number of possible ricochets. Either way, as long as it's a Jacob enhancement, does not have to be legendary. It's not the end of the world, but it is still really nice. The gun critical damage is crazy, and the gun status effect chance is also really, really strong. Ideally, I would look more for those than I would the actual enhancement parts, I guess I'd call them. But yeah, so that is what we're running for that. Just going to quickly go over our firmware, which we're going 2 into Action Fist. We will view in 2 into High Caliber and 1 into God Killer. The God Killer is for just the badass enemies. The Action Fist was originally because it was melee damage, so it's melee and action skill damage. That can be changed out if you find something better, but I think for now, that's what I'm going to stick with, because I'm still dealing some melee damage, and the action skill damage is still nice because I have it up at most times. The High Caliber, really, really strong. The increase the gun damage is why we picked it up. So now onto the juicy bit of the video, the skill tree, and how it all comes together as an actual build. So to start off, we're using the Onslaughter action skill, and with this action skill, basically what we get is constant shield regeneration, bonus incendiary damage with guns, and increased movement speed. You can also press it whilst it's out with whatever button it is for you, the action skill button, to dash to the enemy and do a rocket punch. Our first 5 points are going into What Burns Within, which is Amon gains increased incendiary damage. It's 30%, like I said, we're using the Hellwalker, it's always fire, so we're getting a 30% increase to our incendiary damage through this, which is great, it's a no-brainer. Our next 5 points going into Wield the Storm, which is Amon gains increased status effect damage and status effect duration. So the status effect damage and duration both benefit from me dealing fire damage. I will apply status effects quite consistently, so having it increase damage and duration is very, very nice. Next up is our Augment, which is whenever Onslaughter is activated, Amon fully restores his health and shield and is surrounded by a Forge Storm. That deals incendiary status effect damage to nearby enemies over time. That stacks with the perk that I've just told you about, the passive, the one we've just put 5 points into. And it's also a kill skill, which is kill an enemy inside of the Forge Storm, restores Amon's action skill duration and increases the Forge Storm's damage. Basically, since we are always going to be close range with the shotgun, there will always be in the Forge Storm, we increase the damage of the AoE that's around us. We also get increased status effect damage because of the passive next to it, so it all synergizes really, really well here. Next up, we've got 5 points in Bullet Storm, which is whenever Amon applies a status effect, he gains increased gun damage for a duration. So the max 5 stacks, so in total we'll get in 35%, I believe, for 10 seconds. So I'm going to be applying status effects because of the Forge Storm, and because I am also using something that can apply status effect damage. So again, something else that's just going to increase our gun damage across the board. Actually, my math was off, it's 37.5% in total with max 5 stacks. Then we've got 1 point into Forged in Steel, which is Amon becomes immune to all damage for a brief duration whenever he activates a Forge skill. The duration 6 seconds. This is purely just for survivability. You don't have to put a point in here if you feel like you can survive. For me, I'm quite tanky most of the time. There's odd occasions where I'll go down, but just in case if bosses are going to do some big damage, I'll pop this. We also put 2 points into Metal Edge whenever Amon deals gun damage against action skill cooldown rate for a duration. It's not a high amount whatsoever, but these were my last 2 points that I put in. You can put more point in, like another point into there if you wanted to take it out the Forge skill one. So that's completely up to you guys. They're just floating points for me. Moving on over to the right side, we have Catastrophe, which is whenever Amon applies shock to an enemy, he gains critical hit chance for a duration, and whenever he applies burn into an enemy, he gains critical hit damage for a duration. Obviously, like I say, mainly around fire damage, so whenever we apply a status effect, we gain increased crit damage. Since it's a Jacob's weapon, it's more crit damage overall, and it will ricochet on any crits, so I can clear out rooms quite quickly with this. Now we're on to Dragon's Breath, which is our boss killer. So whenever Amon activates his ordnance, which is our crit knife, his next gunshot is converted to incendiary damage, staggering damaged enemies and gaining increased damage dealt. Bosses can't be staggered and badasses have a chance to be, so I have an extra 3 points into this to put me at 8 out of 5, and that gives me 160%. Ideally what you're looking for is an extra 5 points, so then it goes 10, and that should give us, I think that will give us 200% increased damage on any shot. So when we're against badasses, what I do is offer a crit knife and then just shoot them, and then it's an increase to damage 160%. So that's how I kind of deal with enemies that I'm not matching elements for, because I'm gaining 160% extra damage. You can use it with other weapons. I just like using it because I'm making a Hellwalker build. The idea for this is basically we will get a amp triple bypass. If I get an amp triple bypass, I'll pop that, and then I will also throw my knife, and then I'll use an underbarrel, like knife launcher or something, and ideally it will deal so much damage to the boss that you don't really have to worry about much. And finally, for the red tree, we have Electrical Fire, which is whenever Amon burns an enemy, which is a lot, he also shocks them, and whenever I shock an enemy, I also burn them. Basically, this allows me to double dip into different damage types. So anytime I'm dealing with enemies with shields, I can just basically melt them anyways, because if I'm dealing burning damage to them, I will apply the shock. The shock will take down the shield. I absolutely love this passive. It is one of my favourites in the entire game. Just a quick one as well, the Forge Storm will also burn enemies, so if the Forge Storm's like building up on damage, it will also shock them as well, so I'm double dipping the damage even more when I'm using stuff like the Forge Storm that's around me when I pop my action skill. It also works with Catastrophe, and Catastrophe is really, really good because that means I apply shock to an enemy now, which increases my crit hit chance, and obviously I'm constantly applying burn anyways, I've got the crit damage already, but now I get the critical hit chance as well per stack. My class mod is also giving me Maiming Strike, which when I critically hit an enemy, I can weaken them. If you don't get that, that's perfectly fine, just take a point out elsewhere. I did actually forget about these 5 points here. So into the fray, Amon gains increased damage dealt and damage reduction based on the distance from the enemy. This is actually a really important one as well. Obviously we're using shotguns, we're staying close range, and our melee punch when our action skill's up will launch us to the enemy, so we're always staying within range. We get 15% damage reduction when we're close and a 25% increased damage dealt when we're close, so we use that also and pair it with the Dragon's Breath and the amp and everything else for bosses. So yeah, big one here, don't forget it like I just did. Moving on over to the green tree, we are going 5 points into Executioner, which Amon gains increased critical damage, critical hit damage. The effect is doubled for a duration after dealing melee damage, so the second I rocket punch, I get 40% critical hit damage, which is just ridiculous. It just stacks really, really well with the rest of the build. You could go for the elemental damage, but I just find that I think the crit damage is more important here. The elemental damage is nice, but you don't seem to notice it as much. But that's completely up to you. I just wanted to go more towards the crit damage. Next up is Bolt Action, which is whenever Amon reloads, his guns gain bonus shock damage for a duration. Like I say, if we're shocking an enemy, we burn them. If we burn them, we shock them. So I thought, why not? And this gives me a guaranteed way to get some shock damage on targets with shields, regardless of burning them. And our final 5 points is going into Herald's Call. Amon gains increased shock damage. Like I say from the one before, we are dealing shock damage as well. So I thought I'd just boost it by an extra 30%. If you want to go somewhere else with this, you can do. I just wanted to go for more shock damage. I'm a big fan. I like the balance between both. So yeah, that's up to you with that one. Did forget the capstone, but it is Storm Cutter, so Molten Slam is now Storm Cutter. It does shock melee damage, but because of our class mod, it actually deals fire. It's just a nice addition, and it restores action skill cooldown, action skill duration, and ordnance cooldown for each enemy hit. So if you want to keep your action skill up more frequently, just pop it. It's really, really strong. Not terms of damage, just to keep your action skill up for longer. And finally, Specialization. I'll make this one quick, 'cause it's a longish video as is. So we're going with a down but not out. So I can aim in when I'm down. It works really well when I'm using an actual close range Jacob shotgun. Eventually we will swap that out. I'll tell you in a moment what else we're swapping that out to. We're going to be swapping that out to riddle you this. So when I deal gun damage, I get a stack and it increases my gun damage. I haven't put enough points into Brute to get there yet. If you want to move some points around, feel free. But yeah, riddle you this is going to be really, really strong for this setup as well. Bullet Train's up next, which is Vault Hunter can now hit fire while sprinting, which is really just nice quality of life, and gain gun damage the faster they move, or I gain 15% when walking, and the faster I move, obviously, the more damage I get, which really, really nice for pairing with my Onslaughter action skill, because it increases my movement speed, so very happy with that, plus the knockback with the shield that gives me movement speed as well. We also went with Contamination, which is critical hits grant increased status effect application chance. Obviously, we're going to be dealing a lot of crit damage pretty much at all times, and application chance, so then that'll apply shock as well as the burn, which is basically just bouncing off each other constantly at all times. So yeah, no brainer, this one will always stay. Finally, we have Overkill, which is a kill skill. Killing an enemy with a critical hit will cause them to explode, dealing skill damage. This isn't that important at all. It is definitely going to get replaced with something else, which is one shot, one kill. Kill skill, excess damage will be stored and add to your next gunshot. That's just a consistently nice thing to have when you're mobbing enemies at all times. You're just going to get increased damage on top of each other stacked. So definitely aim for one shot, one kill. I just don't have enough points to hit everything I need right now. I'm just going to let some gameplay play out now, just some quick mobbing and some different bits and bobs, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you feel like it, leave a sub, leave a like, leave a comment down below what you'd like to see next if there's anything, and yeah, have a good day.